Hi everyone, welcome back to another week on the Brush by Brandy YouTube channel. This week we are working on a really fun piece, and it's because I got some new toys in my toy box that I'm going to share with you. So there was a new release from Redesign with Prima, and it included a whole bunch of molds, and I really love them. This is one of the new molds. This one is called Claire, and I used this one in this piece because I love the size. It's got a really nice size to it, really nice detail. It takes up a lot of real estate. It's a really great mold. Another one that I'm going to use on this piece is called the Annette, and this piece is incredibly detailed. I think this is a mold I'm going to be using a lot. So these are two molds that were brand new, and I was totally enticed to use them. I also got this one, which is called the Bridget, and I think this is going to be really cool for like hardware backing. It can be used vertically as well. But not only did I get some really pretty new molds, I also got some paint colors to use. So these messy containers is the Lotus Theory collection from Eye Love Hue Paint. And Bianca, who is the owner and artist behind Lotus Theory, is a friend of mine. We've known each other for years now, and I'm super excited to support her in her new paint line. Her colors are these rich jewel tones that are absolutely gorgeous. And so I pulled out a bunch of these and I mixed a few custom colors that I'm excited to share with you guys. But overall, this is a beautiful paint. It blended really nicely, and I can't wait to share this piece with you. So congratulations to Bianca. Thank you to Redesign for my new molds, and let's put this stuff to use. Here's where I started on this piece. I picked this one up off my local Facebook marketplace because I loved the shape of it. I couldn't resist it. It's not particularly old, but it's in pretty good condition. So I did end up priming a few pieces all at one time, all in one night. And of course, I forgot to take video of this exact one. So I'm going to show you the process that I used on this other piece that's similar. I ended up using a spray primer just for ease of use and for time's sake. I knew that I wanted to use my new molds from Redesign with Prima, so I'm going to go ahead and cast these first before I get started on my piece. And I'm going to cast these using amazing casting resin. So I mixed equal parts of A and B into a silicone cup, and then I'm going to pour all three of these molds at one time. If you're just starting out pouring molds, I don't recommend doing this large of a pour at once. It is pretty big, and you do need to make sure you move pretty quickly. This is a 10-minute casting resin. It starts to set up about, about 2 minutes in, and then after that, your time starts getting limited. After that 10 minutes is up, the resin's going to turn white, and then I can come back and pop my molds out of the silicone, and these are ready to glue to my piece. I use a little bit of Titebond Quick and Thick adhesive on the back of these, and I'm going to attach them while they're still fresh so that they can adhere to the curvature of the front of this piece. So I just apply a little bit of the adhesive using my fingers, and I set this one up. This is going to be the backing for my hardware. So I'm using my hardware hole as a guide, and I'm going to drill this hole out while this resin is still fresh so that my hardware can slip in once my paint finish is all done. So Bianca's color collection here, the Lotus Theory collection, is absolutely gorgeous. It's a lot of rich jewel tones. And I wanted to mix up a couple custom colors and show you what I came up with. So the first color that I used on the inside of my cabinet is a mix of Proverbs 31, which is this deep maroon color. And I mixed a little bit of that with Golden Lampstand. And this comes up to be a beautiful coral color. And so I chose to hide this on the inside of my piece, but that's my custom coral, which is Golden Lampstand and Proverbs 31. My next mix, I used a mix of Exodus, which is this really deep blue. And I added in a little bit of King of Kings, which is a dark, rich purple. And these two together created almost, it's a in between cobalt and a navy. Just this really deep shade of blue, but it has a glow to it from that little bit of purple. So that was my next custom color mix. And then probably my favorite of the three, I used a little bit of Exodus and then some of New Jerusalem, which is this beautiful rich green. And if you mix these together, of course the blue and the green together, I got this deep rich shade of teal. That was my favorite. That's going to be a dominant color on this piece. But there's some great custom color mixes in this that you can get out of these colors, and I'm super excited to use them. Now that I've got my color scheme all decided, I'm going to go ahead and mix these up in larger quantities in a dish. So I'm just going to pour them out. Now I do this really often when I'm mixing colors, and that is I don't measure them. So I mix until I get the color that I like. If I undermix, that's okay. I'll just come back and mix a little bit more to color match the one that I mixed previously. But I always try to over mix my colors when I'm doing mixes like this. I know it's dangerous territory. So I ended up with 3 dishes of colors, one for each of the custom colors that I mixed up. This teal color has got to be my favorite. I absolutely love the blue and the green together. It's time to come over and start attaching some of these molds to the sides of this piece. Now it's going to take me a little bit of time to attach these molds because it took quite a bit of castings to cast enough to fill up the sides of this piece. I'm going to cast 2 of these larger ones, and then I'm going to frame them out with some of the smaller flourish. So I had to do several castings to fill up both sides. The other thing I'm doing here that I don't usually recommend is I'm going to go ahead and paint my mold while the glue is still wet. I'm just adding a light coat on it. That's because this is going to need 2 coats of paint, and I'm going to try to keep it caught up to the body of the piece. So while that mold is drying and I have another set of resin in the cast, let's go ahead and put some paint on this piece. So I'm going to start off with my custom color mix, which is that blue and the green together, which created this rich dark teal. And I'm sort of going to outline the outside of this front of this cabinet. This is going right over the top of my primer, and I'm using my Klingon brushes to apply the paint. I'm applying a little bit of water just to help my brush glide over the surface because this has a primer on it that tends to have a little bit of a chalky feel, and it can create some friction with the brush. A little bit of water on the surface just helps my brush glide easier. My goal with this initial coat is just to get some coverage and get my basic color layout decided. So I know that I want my dominant body color to be this teal, and so I'm going to basically frame out an oval shape in the shape of my door around the center. In the center, I'm just going to add a highlight, and so what I do is I'm going to add a diluted coat of my main body color, and then I'm going to come in and brush in a little bit of this yellow. This yellow is called Golden Lampstand, and I'm brushing it into the blue mix to kind of create this middle tone, this kind of green shade. I'm going to use a swirling motion to create this mix right on my piece. The other option is I could have mixed them in a dish and created a color for my highlight, but I'm going to go ahead and just brush them together on my piece to create this color. Yellow is a great color to kind of create this nice soft glow on just about any background, but I'm using it here to create the highlight in the center of this blue. It's going to create some shades of green in between and then a little more defined yellow in the center, but it's going to be a beautiful highlight in the center to kind of show off the curvature of this piece. This is just my base coat, so my blending doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want to kind of get the layout and my colors decided so that when I come back for my second coat, I have a really clear idea what I'm doing. So with that side done, let's go ahead and move on to this other side. I'm basically just going to repeat the process on every side of this piece, working one side at a time. This blend does not have to be perfect. In fact, it's actually pretty messy because I'm really just using this to conceptualize my finish. So I'm doing the same thing here, outlining in that shade of teal that I mixed up, and then I'm going to add that highlight of gold in the center. I'm going to brush those together until I get the same colors that I had on the other side, and roughly the same size and shape. I recommend doing this all at one time so that you kind of come back to it with the same hand and eye. If you do this at different times, you can kind of change your technique in between. So now let's pay some attention to the inside of this cabinet. I didn't put the primer on this, but I did go ahead and scuff sand this door so that it will accept my paint and have a nice grip to it. This is another one of my custom color mixes that I'm putting on the inside of this door, and I just thought it would be a fun pop of color inside, a nice complement to the deep rich blues and greens that are on the outside, a little bit of fun, a little surprise when you pop those doors open. I always like to paint the insides of the doors when I'm doing a piece. On this one, I went ahead and painted the inside shelves too because they were kind of this ugly brown color and I wanted them to tie in with my body. Here's what the body of this piece looked like when all my paint was done, but I'm going to tell you guys a secret. I couldn't leave well enough alone. I decided to try another color combination and make all of the center of this that deep rich teal color and just outline in my mix of the purple and the blue. It was a really pretty color combination and I played around with it. I left this in here because I wanted to show you guys that sometimes I don't leave well enough alone. Sometimes I try to change it up. Well, guess what? I ended up going back to my original concept and painting over this. I also left this in here because I wanted to show you the really great coverage that this paint gets and also how nicely it blends. Now this would be a second coat when I would be trying to perfect my blends, and so you can see how really nice and easy those colors move together. I do like this paint quite a bit. Okay, but now that I got some sense back into me, you know that I went back and painted over this because the final product doesn't look like this. So I went back to my original concept with that little bit of yellow in the center. I just liked it too much. So my paint is all dry and I'm going to come back and start decorating these molds. And what I'm going to use to decorate them is a little bit of artisan powder. So this is Memory Hardware artisan powder. This color is called French Amber and these are from Redesign with Prima. This is usually a mixed media art tool, but I use it on furniture quite a bit and I really enjoy the different colored powders. So don't be afraid to pick up unconventional art supplies that maybe wouldn't necessarily be something that you use on furniture. Think stuff like oil pastels, watercolors, alcohol inks. All of these are things that you can incorporate into your furniture finishes as well. I applied some of that yellow artisan powder into the center of this mold and it's really going to bring out that highlight of gold that I put in the middle. And now I'm going to come back with some gilding waxes. I'm using a color called Peacock and a darker blue, and I'm going to highlight the outer edges of this and make it look like it's fading from a dark blue into the yellow, just like my paint finish does, only I'm doing this with gilding waxes and the powder. In the center where I put the yellow, I'm going to put a little bit of Eternal Decor Wax, and that's a nice dark rich gold. That's going to go over the yellow really nicely. That way it has a little bit of metallic detail on all of it. It's going to catch the light just right, and of course when I drill this out and put that hardware in there, it'll be a beautiful finish. When I back away and show all the molds, you can really see what an impact that this has. So let's go ahead and do one on the side. And I'm going to do the same process here that I did to the one on the front, adding in that artisan powder. I'm going to brush away the excess using a brush just to get rid of any loose powder. And I came in and applied a little bit of black wax around the edges just to give that a little low light. And then I'm coming back with some of those different color gilding waxes. All of this serves to really set off these molds against the body. These are the focal point of my piece, and so I really want them to stand out. Here's the finished product. So I am going to spray my clear coat on this, and that's going to serve to seal that powder in place. If you do brush a clear coat over powders, you can expect to brush away some excess, but most of it will still stay with the body. So I'm just going to spray this in 2 coats of satin clear coat. Spraying my clear coat gets the most flawless results. I do recommend it if it's an option for you. Spraying was also great on this one because I've got these molds that are really detailed and it's going to make sure to coat them evenly. With my clear coat done, this piece is complete. I staged this one with a simple gold mirror and a vase of flowers, kept it nice and clean so you really focus on the piece. What do you guys think? This was a really fun project. I hope you guys enjoyed this one as well. You can find links for everything I use in the description for this post. As always, you can find more Brush by Brandy on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube, and on my website at brushbybrandy.com. Don't forget to click that subscribe button.